Hello. Today I'm going to be ranking all of the Creepcast episodes of 2025 in honor of the new year. Um, Originally I wanted to do every single Creepcast episode, but after kind of looking over how many are featured on the entire list, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make this a two-part episode. So, starting off with this one that I'm waving around is called The Only Other Astronaut on This Mission Died 6 weeks ago. And I revisited this recently. Oh yeah, also, in case you haven't heard of Creepcast before, I'm just assuming that anybody who clicked on this video would think that, I don't know, they're number one Creepcast fanatics. Creepcast is a podcast which I'm very passionate about because it involves showcasing writing stories from the internet, usually from the No Sleep on Reddit. It's usually really funny and has some of the really best stories that I've ever listened to on a short, contained. Well, I say short, like they're not multiple hours long, but I think it just uses the medium in a good way. So, starting with this one, it came out in the first week of January. Um, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm not sure about it being an A. I would say it's more like a B because I just think that it could have been a little bit longer. It could have been a little bit more explored because the premise is there's an astronaut on a ship with this other guy who he didn't really see as a friend, but he was just kind of a colleague. But anyways, the other guy dies, so the astronaut puts him in the I don't know, containment center, and the ship's computers say that he's still alive. So I'll let you check that one out if you want to see where it goes, because it is a really interesting premise, and I do like the author who's been featured a few other times. Um, But yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it in A because sorry, B, because I don't know. I don't really think it really had all that to offer personally. But I mean, this is all just my subjective opinion, so definitely on each of these, check them out, form your own opinion. Um, Another thing, the show does get a little bit raunchy sometimes if you don't typical South Park or Family Guy humor, I guess. Because there's a whole segment where the host of the show, Meat Canyon, who makes all of those animations on YouTube, if you haven't seen them, they're real gross out humor. It's great. But anyways, he talks about this time he's at a sleepover, I guess, with his friends in middle school, and they start calling this other kid Mr. Floppy because he keeps on doing, what most boys start to do at that age. And he just says, I like to call it Mr. Floppy. And then, yeah, apparently he ran into him later as an adult. And I don't know, I feel like I'm spending too much time on this, but it was such a weird, long, just bit that kept on going. And Wendigoon, the other podcaster who really, I don't want to say is more conservative, he's more I don't know, straight edge, I guess. And yeah, he was just not having it. So seeing kind of the dynamic between these two people just kind of crossing over every week, because they upload these on a weekly basis. This is every single week out of this past year. But moving on, the next story was Berries in the Window, and I listened to this twice because I remember the first time I just couldn't really follow what the story was really going for, because it wasn't scary, it wasn't even disturbing to me really, because it's a Rosemary's Baby dynamic, but it's in a whole church, and this guy who's hired to be a photographer for this church in a remote location is following this cult trying to bring the Antichrist from this girl who's sacrificed or something. I'm not even sure. It was just a very messy story, and I don't even remember like anything funny happening, like the weird little bit that I mentioned. Like nothing really memorable happened, so I don't know. It feels mean to like start this off so early on a show that I really do like to give it an F, but I'm just gonna have to give it an F because I don't know, like I don't think I'll ever be revisiting this episode. Next, this is a very famous creepypasta that I had listened to the first part long before they uploaded this video, and if I had kept listening to those parts, I think I would have had a similar reaction to. I'm just gonna use their real names, Isaiah and Hunter. Isaiah is Wendigoon and Hunter is Meat Canyon, and I don't know. I feel like I would have had the same reaction because it's definitely the kind of story where you're just like yelling at your screen the whole time, like, what kind of fucking chat GPT written shit is this? But you can't even blame AI because this was made long before people had access to fucking AI to make weird little tangents on explaining how uh, identity theft works, or even at this one point he explains how Google works. And so it's not even that old of a story. Like I think this was written in 2012, but yeah, it's just such a mesmerizing just mess, and it's like 3.5 hours long, and they just over time get more and more mad at the story, and it's just so fucking funny. I'm gonna give it an A for like that humor base alone, but it is a bad story. But it's like it's kind of like when you're watching a car wreck, like you just have to keep your eyes glued to it as you're passing by. Next is the pigeons are not what they seem. I didn't really care for it. Pigeons are not what they seem is one of the stories that's covered on here because they do like a few short stories, and each of them were all like a little bit bland, but at the same time, at their best, they were like tiny little, Twilight Zone like bits, I guess. I don't really remember anything funny happening in here either. It was just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, there was this one, I guess it was the first one, where this guy's roommate mails himself like as a like prank for YouTube, and he finds the box and he finds that he actually died in the box, but it was literally his fault because he kind of just pushed the box to the side because he didn't know he was in there. Um, and I don't know, it just kind of turned out to be pretty like ironically, like I don't know, amusing I guess, but let's go with D because I'm pretty sure those stories were just like short enough, like just something to play on in the background. But anyways, next to the hidden web page, I actually really like this one. I would say I'll put it above My Best Friend Tried to Ruin My Life, only because it's actually a really good story, and it's even better if you go in completely blind. Like I had no idea what this story was when I first heard the episode, and I don't remember anything funny happening. I think they're just like completely invested to the point where they didn't really break off from reading the story that much. But yeah, Hidden Web Page is the kind of story you listen to if you really like just looking into that old era of the internet where they were just first starting to have like those web forums and stuff that they would just chat with random people all over the world for like the first time. I mean, that's like a really great setup for something I guess sinister to take place for as you can see, people in bee costumes start coming out, and it's just a really like weird nightmare. And there's a lot of ambiguity too in the end. Like you're like, okay, well, what was real and what was not real? It was just pretty fun. Next, one that was not really that much fun. My crew and I are on an abandoned ship. Um, they do this thing where Hunter gives a British accent for most of the video as like a challenge to see if he'll break it and pay for the author's publishing fees or whatever. I didn't really find it all that funny. I mean, I thought it was funny how he did the British accent because he thought the story had British people in it, but it didn't. Like, it was all American people, and he was doing the British accent. Meanwhile, they were coming from, like, I don't even know, Rhode Island or something. But like the story itself, I just found it to be a little bit redundant. That's the thing with most of the stories with multiple parts that they cover, like over Reddit, where you have to make it sound like you're playing the character who's reaching out to anybody who reads, and it just gets really annoying, like having to just break off the flow of the story. But I don't know if they ever like make a book out of this, I'd recommend just read that instead and judge the story for yourself, because there are some like pretty cool set pieces like on the abandoned ship. Like if you like stories, I guess, about ghost ships and stuff, it was alright. I think I'll give this on the first C tier. I'm trying to remember too if there was like any funny moments also, but for a 3.5 hour video, excuse me, there really wasn't a lot to like take away from it. Same thing with this story. This is Azalea's Cookhouse. It's a start, I guess, like historically. I'm saying historically, like I'm some sort of like internet historian. Anyways, in this video, they start a new little running gag in their series where they set a bear trap, like a prediction for where the story's gonna go. But in this one, I mean, everything was just kind of cut and dry, I guess. It's about a waiter who like starts murdering people for this restaurant he works at, and it sounds a lot more fun on paper, but the actual story is just a little bit, I don't know, it just kind of felt a little hard to follow at times. Also, I should probably say that like maybe okay, because I said hard to follow, maybe that's also my fault because normally when I listen to these, I'm either working or driving, so I could have been distracted at any given moment. But I don't know. I read like sometimes in the comments like, yeah, I sat down and I watched this on my TV, and I've tried to do that, and it's just really difficult to like just pay attention and read the story alongside when I could like be doing something else. I mean, maybe I'm just a brain rotted person, but anyways, this one, I'm not sure if it really belongs in F. Maybe a D, because it really wasn't that bad. I don't know. I couldn't really get that much into it. This is the Creepypasta Classics. They do Candle Cove, The Rake, and I want to say Eyeless Jack. It was pretty good. It was funny, like just looking at these bad old creepypastas, but I don't really have that much to comment on it. I'll go ahead and put it in B, just to like kind of take a look back at the origins of creepypasta. I don't know. Dagon's Mirror is a Lovecraftian styled story, like Call of Cthulhu, for instance. It's really cool. It's like a historical, like fiction, I guess, looking into this old, like English town about this guy whose uncle slowly turns into a fish person, and just very mythological and weird, but in that old gothic way. Go ahead and put it in B because I don't know. I guess the entertainment value is mostly in the story alone, and the story is pretty good, but I think like as an episode, I guess I don't know, remember all too much from it. I'm doing all of these based on memory on like how I kind of took away from them during the weeks that they came out. I haven't really revisited a lot of these either. I could probably say like a handful of these I've watched more than once. Next is I Wrote Myself a Letter and I Got a Response. I think it was really interesting to have the main characters of this, who are this couple who find that when they write themselves letters, it kind of transports them to a mirror dimension or opens up a line of communication to this mirror dimension of this really fucked up world, and then we see the perspective of that other versions of themselves that they're writing to. It was pretty good. The ending was a little bit bad to the point where it kind of killed the whole ride for me, but leading up to that, like I'd say the first two parts are okay enough. Go ahead and put in C. Oh boy. So the Red Tower is quite possibly one of the most controversial ones to date. It's the first like actual book that they've covered, and it has a lot of just very specifically complicated prose throughout. It's a collection of short stories, and I think most people's problem with it is because they were probably in the same boat as me, where they would play this in the background while they were doing something else and kind of lose focus of the story. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad story, it just means that your enjoyment of the episode is probably going to be changed just in how you're consuming the podcast. So I would say like the first 2/3 of it, I think, are pretty good. Like if you're able to actually like sit down and kind of read along and just kind of like see where everything is coming from in this very mystical, I guess, because it's stories like where the Red Tower is this kind of hellscape, just brutal capitalist nightmare. And then it goes into this other like story about like mages and wizards and stuff. I don't really know about this one, like if it's really as bad as people make it out to be, because it's very complicated in its writing. Like it has a lot of words that nobody uses. You really need to pop open a thesaurus for this one. But overall, I mean, I guess it's okay. I'd put it like, I mean, just because like there are some funny moments where they're like openly just saying like how like weird this stuff is, and how, I mean, it has a lot of cool concepts, but I don't know, it can be easy to just get into the realm of like parody, because this is obviously something, I don't know, that's put on YouTube, meant to be kind of looked at as creepypasta, just, I don't know, to be made fun of. I think it was just like, it would have been better used in a different show besides this one, if that makes any sense. I'll go ahead and just put it in D. Okay. I don't know if I should talk about this one later, because I'm going to rank it really high, but I feel like I'm going to be here forever talking about it, so I'm going to save it probably towards the end. Fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to put it up here. Spire in the Woods is a 6-hour video because it's basically like a novella. Like the author did publish it and he sold the rights, but they took away all access from it, and they took away the like publications. Like you can't even really find them anymore unless it's some like obscure ass place. But I would say out of all the episodes here, I've rewatched this one the most. And the reason why is just because of how good it is. I mean, just the simplest answer is very well written, and honestly, like how I said, the Red Tower was not really like the right kind of story to be read on this show, where the fans kind of want to be like engaged with the story through Isaiah and Hunter, who are like kind of prone to getting off topic and like talking about a lot of things that aren't always that relevant, but usually are pretty funny and like entertaining. But this one like just has the perfect mix of both, I guess. Like it's a completely well done, just almost Stephen King like story. Like I honestly don't even want to say what it's about. I would just say like, I don't know, if there's anything to take away, like if you have not seen any episode of Creepcast, especially because this one technically I don't even think they could have even made it without like trying to get permission, or like I don't even know, if this one eventually becomes lost media, I'm gonna be so pissed, because I really really like how this is written and just the episode in itself, like the dynamic of it. But there are some like heavy topics in this, and I know that it probably won't be for everyone. But yeah, like I would say like out of all of them, Spire in the Woods, give it a shot for sure. It's a great story. And yeah, that's like, I think that's gonna be the only like number one spot here, I'll just say. There you go. All right. Next is Tiki Toby. It has like a really funny bit in it. That's a sequel to a 2024 video they did. But other than that, like just that joke that's in the video, I didn't really get a lot from it because I never heard of this character. Apparently, he's a classic like creepypasta character, but it's kind of unfamiliar to me. I was more into like Jeff the Killer, Slender Man, and Smile Dog, but the rest of the characters kind of just seemed like I don't even know, like anime OCs. But this one, I don't know. I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and put in deeds here because it was just like, I mean, yeah, that's the point of these like bad old creepypasta stories. Like you're meant to poke fun of them and like not really care, but sometimes they're just like so poorly written to the point where it's not even like funny. It's just like like damn, I kind of feel bad that like we're looking into this. Also, it's revealed that this is supposed to be a sequel to the original like Slender Man narrative. So yeah, I don't know. It was just like not really not really my cup of tea for somebody who just like was into Slender Man in the extent of like where the games kind of begun and ended. Like he's just this enigmatic figure in the woods. He's not really supposed to have that much depth to him. So like the thought of including him with all these other characters, like I didn't even like the Jeff the Killer crossovers that they would have. I would always think that those were just in the realms of just like, oh, you're shipping these I mean murderers together, these murderer characters. So I don't know. You can't even like really make fun of Slender Man anymore without addressing the real life murders elephant in the room, which is sad that like a huge part of my childhood and like my interest in horror has been taken away because of what this piece of shit person did. But anyways, moving on. This one, I think this is their only sponsored episode, and I'm not gonna say that they don't deserve it because they do. They deserve the A24 sponsorship with the Bring Her Back movie. But at the same time, that does not help this episode at all because it's not really stories that they uncover. It's just like talking about like those old like, you know, Bloody Mary like ghost summoning games that kids used to play. I mean, just like as a video in itself, it's fine, but I don't know. It's just not really the kind of thing I think about when I first think of Creepcast. I'm just gonna drop it to F only because like it's not very Creepcast to me. That's the reason. The sun vanished. I really don't like when they go into Twitter ARGs, which are augmented reality games. If you don't know, I just see like the posts and like the little videos of like, oh, the sun's disappeared. I just think it's, I don't know, a little bit boring. I just think with this one, because like it's 3 hours long, but I haven't even been made able to make it past the 2 hour mark because I just have a feeling that I won't really get anything out of the rest of it. It's just not a very good deep dive into this Twitter thing. That is to say, though, there are like a few funny moments where they're just like crashing out over how ridiculous it kind of gets. I'll put it on C just because there are some like things that still make me laugh, especially Hunter's reactions to like some of the like images and videos that are supposed to add tension but just make it kind of look like a kid's project, which I mean, it's still endearing, you know, like at the end of the day, it is something somebody made to like be enjoyed for free. Next is Camp Oakwood. This is not a great story, but it does have one of the funniest moments in all of Creepcast, which is where this kid is like running from these cult members from this camp that he was working at, and he like gets stopped by this old guy who keeps on just going on and on about like the history of this cult while the cult is still chasing him, and they're like hiding out in this parking lot but just kind of standing like out in the open, and it just goes on for paragraphs and paragraphs, And like it keeps on saying long story short, blah 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 blah, long story short. It's just like one of those like, oh my god, I feel like I'm genuinely losing my mind as I'm watching slash reading this. So I'll like, guess I'll put it in B, because like I do get a lot of like enjoyment just from the entertainment factor. And Score Sold in the Earth is the next one. I think this one is kind of okay. I mean, when I first heard it, I liked the just poetic writing style. Like this one's supposed to be like between the realms of there's a lot of gross stuff happening because there's this guy whose body is like deteriorating on him, and the way he describes it is just very, I'll even know, like kind of mystical. Like it is something that you would just have to listen to for yourself. Like I don't know, I would say it's a short listen through. I think the author has made something else that they covered. I don't really remember, but I think just personally, I don't really think I would watch this one again. There is a funny story on here, I'll give it that, about Wendy Goon's dad. Like, he was trying to help somebody with cancer, like, seek out remedies, and he would, like, try them himself, like, just off the internet. And there's this one where, like, he's working outside and his mouth starts foaming up because he just drank, like, pool cleaner. And I don't even know. I think it was just funny that, like, he tells that story about something his dad did on Father's Day, and I don't know, it just kind of made me laugh. Say like C tier. I work at a half price voodoo shop. It's one of those stories where there's really only like one setting that really matters, and it is interesting to see how all the people who come to the voodoo shop that the main character works at kind of have a lot of ironic answers to their wishes. But I mean, other than that, I don't know. I think it is just kind of like a Twilight Zone kind of thing where it's just this one location where a bunch of weird stuff happens and that's about where it ends. I think like writing wise, it was alright. And like, I don't remember anything funny happening either. So I'll probably put it in D tier. Okay. Uh, this one was crazy. This is we weren't allowed to talk to women, and you could see like the moth that's here. It just gets into a weird place with like moths and weird like flesh things, and you find out why they weren't allowed to talk to women, and it's very like disgusting but also pretty hilarious. I'll put it in B tier just because like it was a really entertaining like short just creepy story. This is it came from a fan. The thumbnail is where he's like just old and obese and taken care by a psychotic person, because that's basically where the funniest part of this episode is, where they were saying that in one of the stories where each of the stories, by the way, because it's called It Came From a Fan, these were all fan submissions to their Reddit, and now they started a new Reddit because they were getting so many fan submissions of stories. It's like an elderly patient's home and one of the last ones, and things just get really like liminal and just weird throughout. And I like this one a lot just because it gives a lot of just props to the people who've been listening to this as long as I have and just kind of been moved to write their own stories. Probably put it in A just because like one, it is a little bit funny like how some of these just kind of go like off the walls insane with like seeing how they can top just whatever has been done in the past already. But at the same time, there are some really good stories in this episode, and I haven't gone through a lot of the Reddit myself to see like all the fan submitted stories. But yeah, it is like just really cool that they started all this. Next is Fleshgate. This one I was listening to while I was driving my girlfriend to the airport for her trip to Japan, which sadly I couldn't go on because um, arrangements were made before we started going out. But anyways, I was just like so used to staying up at night because I was working this overnight shift job at the time, and like all of the just stupid like moments of this story and like the bits that just kept happening like one on top of the other with this I guess it's like a imposter story where they're in the woods and they're hiding from like skinwalkers. I don't know, like I remember I was just like dying laughing and I was so tired and she was just knocked out next to me because it was like 3 in the morning. And yeah, I don't know, I had a good time listening to this and I listened to it again actually a few months ago and it was still like pretty entertaining, so I'll put that in A tier. Um, Next is I clean up hoarder houses for a living. This one felt a little bit just disjointed, I guess. It was kind of like how I saw this comment that cleared it up perfectly, kind of like how people who talk about their dreams that were really long and they just keep going on and on but never really have like a clear structure to them. That's kind of how I think of this story, and for some people that might be a good thing, but I don't know, it was just hard to like listen to and sort of try and imagine some kind of setting for it because it did get like a little bit like surreal with how he would go into this house, the main character, and like I don't know, there would be these just weird elements from the like hoarding and stuff that would keep on popping up, and I don't know, it wasn't really too special to me. Let's put it probably an F. Next is the My Little Pony creepypasta, which I actually read like a really long time ago. I think I was like 11 and it scared me, but reading it again, I guess the only reason why it scared me was because I wasn't so desensitized with like gory descriptions and stuff. So really it was pretty funny to just hear these guys read it for the first time, and they actually complimented it a lot. And I think yeah, like some of the descriptions were a lot better than they deserve to be for what it is. Let's go ahead and put it in B. Kind of been noticing just this glaring like blank S. I guess something I could put into S, since I'm feeling like I've been dogging on this way too much, is Smile Dog. Um, I mean, it's Smile Dog, you know? Everybody remembers, like, those weird ass email chains, and the first ever time you are exposed to the very famous Smile Dog image, it's just haunting. And then they cover this other one, it's like the Beatles, like a lost Beatles VHS tape, which just sounds like a weird ass analog horror project, but it was pretty hilarious with just how stupid it got, like paired up with Smile Dog. Not to mention that it starts off with a 15-minute tangent where Wendigoon talks about how Hunter couldn't pick him up from the airport because he was stuck in his prop suit for the short film he made on his main channel. It's called Meat Canyon, like the video, and it's actually a really, really cool like body horror short film. Next is I'm blind and I don't know how many I'm blind and I don't know how many staircases my house has. I remember being so pissed off that the main character, I mean I get it, the main character is a blind person and with that disability like you're very limited to the things you can do, but the amount of times the main character would just willingly put her friends like in danger because there was this like skinwalker thing living in her house. Like, just leave the damn house. Just like we made it through one night and y'all could clearly see that there was bad shit happening because like I don't even think she was alone like the whole time. I think she like had help basically through it, and she kept on dragging them back into the house to like kind of uncover what was going on. And I don't know. I don't even think the staircases like that had that much significance. I think she was like being moved around, which I don't know. I thought it was gonna be more like a house changing kind of thing, but instead we just got like a weird hairy skinwalker monster just lurking around, and it was caught on camera, and they were like, oh, we know what this thing looks like now, we can kill it. So yeah, I'll just probably put it in C. I mean, it wasn't really that bad. It was just like, I don't know. I don't really think I'll listen to it again. This is another one that had some short stories in it. The video is called "The Flight Attendants Keep Crying." I think the flight attendants one was a little bit worse than this other one. I forget what the actual story was called, but it was about a guy who has a concussion and everyone in his life is acting really weird. But it's kind of ambiguous in the end if like things were actually like going wrong or if it was just his concussion like affecting his perception of the people around him. But it has a lot of cool descriptions of just whenever the people in your house are acting a little bit off, how that can like kind of terrorize you a little bit in your own home. Put it in B. Next is the fucking disgusting Sydney Sweeney one. I mean, I only say the Sydney Sweeney one because she's on the thumbnail and they're making a movie about this story. It's called I Pretended to Be a Missing Girl, and Sydney Sweeney's gonna play a racist. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I was looking at her biography. Sydney Sweeney is gonna play a girl who pretends to be this missing girl who looks just like her, but like stuff isn't what they seem. And I'm just putting an F tier because Sydney Sweeney's on the thumbnail. I do not care about the story really. I wasn't really blown away by it. Next is Blood Ridge Motel. Fun fact, I listened to this while I was dyeing my hair. And I remember just like hearing their voices in the background while I was getting fucking hair dye everywhere. But it's alright. The main character isn't really somebody you want to root for because she's like feeding people to vampires, but at the same time, it's vampires. I mean, they're pretty cool. But overall, like the ending kind of left you wanting a little bit more. Not even in the good way, like, oh, that was so good, I wanted to see more. It was just like, oh, that's really it. I mean, I don't know. It didn't really like. I know I've been saying this a lot probably. I just think like the main reason I wanted to do also the 2024 episodes was just because like I like a whole lot of them a lot better. Like this year hasn't been bad. Like it's been a consistently like average year, I guess, for these episodes. But I guess while I've been ranking them, I don't know. Maybe I really didn't like the stories as much. I was just like finding the hosts entertaining enough to listen to on a weekly basis. But anyways, this one I'll put in B. Next is the burger entries. It's actually pretty underrated. Like I don't see a lot of people talking about this one, but I kind of like the Invader Zim vibes that it has. It's just like a gross like fast food, but with like aliens working there. I don't know. It's pretty cool. Go ahead and put it in A because it doesn't get a lot of love. Next is I Talk to God. It's another fan-made submission. I think it's hilarious that the whole concept of it is in the 70s, the CIA was trying to capture a biblically accurate angel. The writing could have been a little bit better, but I think overall, like, it was a good, like, just solid, like, fan-submitted story. Get, like, a C. It's a good effort. Okay, I'll definitely talk about this more if I do get around to doing 2024 episodes. Baraska. I think Baraska and this other story called Pen Pal. Those are like my two probably most impactful stories just from like this channel because I hadn't heard about those stories before watching these. But then they got to the final part of Baraska this year, and it was just like such a letdown. But following them through that, where they're so nostalgic at first, and then like the last chapters of the story is just completely fucking anime, just parody. Like just a corny like I don't really want to give too much away in case you want to listen to the first parts of it and you can just pretend like this one doesn't exist, but I don't know. I think overall it is really hilarious seeing them crash out again. And it is like good to at least like give an ending to the Baraska series from this channel because that was like really one of the main ones that kind of set them off, like really showed that this could work out. I'd say probably an S. Like it's a terrible story, a horrible, horrible slap in the face to how great the first ones were, but I don't know, really. I just gotta love it. Okay, next is There's Something Wrong with Wendigoon. Out of all the like, I guess gratuitously like gory and bad, just all over like uncomfortable stories, this one's probably the most. But at the same time, I don't know. I think just the appeal of these stories is that they're aware of how just weirdly, not even like disturbing, but just uncomfortable, like this kind of writing would make people, and they're just like in it for the love of the game, I guess. Like, I don't know, like it has a lot of you. I mean, this has a lot for you to just kind of take in and just be like, you know what? Like, I never would have read this on my own if they hadn't read it. And you know what? I respect them for that. At the same time, though, I don't think I'll ever listen to this again, and I think I probably could have gone the rest of my life hearing this story about like an abusive father who just severely tortures his family in the entire story, and there's no real like resolution to it. It's just kind of like, oh, the reason was supernatural. I think I'll have to put it in C, unfortunately. It breaks my heart to do so, but hey. Next is My Sugar Daddy Keeps Giving Me Weird Favors, or asking me for weird favors, with this very strange thumbnail. This one has a few short stories. I remember me and my friends were all together, and once we like read this story, and it was okay. It was a lot funnier, like based off the title alone, and then we got to like read more of those that were listed. Probably give it a B. It's pretty solid. I like the writer a lot. So, Mother Horse Eyes is the longest out of all the episodes. It stands at 11 hours. I have not listened to all of it. I probably will not listen to all of it because it's just such a perplexingly weird story. Kind of delves into a lot of religious and historical themes. I mean, I should probably like give it a chance to read on my own because just listening to it and having it like jump around through a bunch of different perspectives just made it kind of hard to follow. But yeah, I do greatly admire the dedication to make an 11-hour podcast. Like, that was definitely a deep dive, and Wendy Goon did make a shorter, I'll say shorter, it's 5 hours, but that whole breakdown on his channel. Next is The Whistlers at 3 a.m. Or maybe it's just called The Whistlers, and The Whistlers at 3 a.m. is a different story from 2024. I didn't finish this one either, and I wouldn't really say that I've been motivated to do so. Like, I tried listening to it again from the beginning, and I just couldn't really get into it. Like, how the main characters were, I don't know, kind of boring. Like, they're in the woods on the run from these, like, mysterious whistling people or creatures, whatever. And I don't know, I just found it kind of mid. Like, I'll just give it a D because I don't know, like the entries were just a little bit like motionless, I guess is the word I would describe them. I don't know. It just wasn't really one that I would kind of stick to. Like, I don't really think I'd be able to take anything from it. Next is The Church in the Woods. I think it was this one where they remarked how they have a lot of like blank the woods episodes, like Spire in the Woods, Oak Woods, and now Church in the Woods. This one was really funny at points, but also the story just took a bunch of weird turns. The main character's probably a psychopath. I mean, it's pretty humorous there. I think I'll probably give it a B. It's had some good bits, and I don't know. I mean, it was just like the writing was good at times, but also, I don't know, it was just a little bit like just comically like cliched. There's definitely a lot of like trends in these stories where there's exposition dumping and, oh, you're the only chosen one who could save us. Next we have the smiling ones. It was on a space station again. This one I think was pretty good mostly until like the very end, where it kind of takes that cartoonish, just classic creepypasta role where the main supernatural thing has to be such a imposing kind of force to be scary. Like, it can't just be this one tragedy and that's the terror, where you really hope that nothing like that ever happens to you. I don't know. I wouldn't really say it's higher than a B, but as far as the writing went, I think it was a little bit better than some. Next we have The Ocean is Deeper Than We Thought. This one is very short. It like felt a lot shorter than it actually was. There weren't really like a lot of bits that came from this either, like not so much comedy or entertainment value. I give it a C. I don't really have that much to say about it. So this one is very strangely titled, My Dad Ate Some Weird Deer Meat, or something along those lines. I don't know. It's a very long title. Find it. My dad ate meat from a deer that walked on two legs. That's right. It's basically that Adventure Time deer that had like hands, and the dad like, I don't know, kind of looks at this and is just like, well, I guess I'll shoot it. Which, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty baller move to take, but the story itself, I don't know, it kind of takes like a weird like, oh, the government's involved, like twist that I didn't really think fit like the overall vibe that much. Like, I would have liked it better if it was like a kind of mythologic fuck my voice, mythological, or I don't know, kind of legend approach. But I would say on its own, probably a C. I just think like I just think it doesn't have any legs to stand on, pardon the pun. Okay, the dead girl in my yard, I remember, made me so sad, but at the same time, it was like a very interesting setup, and I couldn't finish it because I was just kind of deeply, deeply depressed from the subject matter. It was just, I mean, it's just something that'll be subjective to you if you listen to the podcast or read the story on its own. But it's really well written. It's given an A. Not a lot of funny moments because it's just so depressing, but it's also really well written. But let's talk about something that's not well written. So the podcast is called Polyamorous Hell, but the story on its own, let me see what it was called again. Um, because they always like link the stories, and I remember this one had a weird title. When we turn 18, we get the name of our soulmates. Is the name of the story, and it's not even really a horror story. It's just like a weird kind of yaoi narrative. I mean, if you're into that, that's your thing. But the way it's written is just very, very bizarre. Like it's like a young adult fantasy almost. Probably written by someone who was, I don't know, 13 or 14. Just you could tell this was written by a very young writer. And yeah, just the guy's pretty brutal on this one. To the point where it's not even entertaining. It's just like damn, sorry you had to put up with this story, you know? Next we have Accounts from a Lonely Broadcast Station. It's a cool setup where they're at a station like in the middle of a small town where they need to like warn them kind of a fog that comes in and just makes weird stuff happen. It's kind of like a Gravity Falls approach where there's all these weird creatures, like there's birds with human eyes. I remember that visual kind of gave me chills, but kind of my only nitpick is there's this one like nerdy ass character that you just want to die so badly. Like they even say themselves like how much they hate how this character is written to be just so punchable. Just like in his lines, just his little quips. But go ahead and give it a B. About in the middle, I guess. Cause yeah, the writing is pretty good, but not great. Next we have one of the more recent ones. Like this came out, I want to say 3 weeks ago, and absolutely took the comments by storm just with how shockingly offensive this one was. This one is called Dogscape, and it's like takes place in a world where the ground and all the environmental things are made out of dogs. Like it's just a weird premise where the story is written by a bunch of different people off of 4chan of all places, and it just gets horrifically graphic and not even in the place where they do anything with it, just at a shock value. I didn't really like this one at all. Probably give it an F. Just, I don't know, I didn't really enjoy it all that much. Not even like remotely anywhere close to any of these other items. Next is Room 377. I like it. It's like a short campfire story almost. And it's written by the same person who wrote Braska. So, pretty stellar writing. But I'll say like compared to Baraska, it's a lot smaller in scale, it doesn't make it bad, but it didn't leave like a lasting impact like C.K. Walker is the name of the author, her other works were. This one came out last week. The list got a little bit mixed up, but it's Stairs in the Woods, which they did in the very first episode of Creepcast, but it was like kind of as more of a summary, where this one dives deep into the story, and I would say I prefer this one more because, you know, I actually read the story like they've been doing for the past 2 years, the same format this time, instead of like the first episode where it was just kind of, oh, in this passage this thing happened, and then that thing happened, this is how I feel about that. Which isn't bad at all. Like, of course it was a good like starter episode, but I like the more in-depth approach to reading the story, especially their first story that they did for their 2-year anniversary. It's really good. Put in an A because I like the story a lot. The stairs just in the woods, really creepy and interdimensional. I'm a huge Blood Meridian fan. Cormac McCarthy is a great author, and Journal of an Unknown Soldier is the name of this story. Definitely gave me a lot of those vibes. They covered one of this guy's stories in the live show that they did on Halloween, which will be another entry on these last five. But this one's great. It takes a supernatural twist, but it doesn't feel forced at all. Definitely feels like everyone in the story got what they deserved. Give it about an A, just how satisfying it is in the end. But definitely a lot of heavy topics just with it being historically accurate to the time period of like, 1800s, like border wars and stuff over like violence with the settlers and the native people. Next we have Jane the Killer. Um, this one's such a leap from what I was just talking about. Just a spin-off of Jeff the Killer where this time it's a girl. And yeah, it's about all I really have to say about it. Just another old, kind of dumb, like just emo story, but I don't know. It was pretty funny. There was definitely a lot of Breaking Bad references in here for some reason, which I liked. Next, we have the live show, which was actually really nice to see them interact a lot more with the fans this time. Even somebody like proposed to their partner on stage with the Creepcast guys, like helping that proposal take place. It was very sweet. And with it taking place on Halloween, it's just a really perfect, like just kind of Halloween special for the show. I'm gonna put in B tier though because I think, well, one of the stories was written by Isaiah Windigoon, and it was kind of cool to take a look at those. And this other one was written by Hunter, but it's kind of kept a secret the whole time. He was just like, "Oh, I found this," but the whole time it was like very subtly roasting Windigoon. But then the last one, written by the journal's author, I don't know, like I think that one was just kind of a drop, I guess, like from kind of the momentum that they were building throughout the whole live show. Like I just kind of felt like I was waiting for it to be over, I guess. Like it didn't really give me too much to really be invested by. But all in all, like a great recording of a live show that I really wish I could have attended because it was honestly not that far from me. It was like I think 4 or 5 hours away from where I live, which sucks, but it is what it is. Next we have Beneath the Witch's Tree. This one was just okay. I didn't really like. I mean, it was written by the Dagon's author, but it didn't really have like the same amount of just, I don't know, momentum that Dagon's had. Because I think the thing with Dagon's is that it had a lot of Lovecraftian elements, but this one was just kind of like a haunted, like witch's house. And I mean, I don't know if that's your cup of tea, like 18th century, like witches. I don't know, some sort of just historical deep dive into that. Let's put in C tier. Um, a lot of these stories, I guess, as I mentioned before, you do kind of have to pay attention to because it will not wait for you to like catch up. Because a lot of times, like I'll just be like, wait, hold on, I thought that, I don't know, so and so was going on, but it was really something else, and it was my own stupid fault for kind of zoning out and just letting like the bits wash over it. But lastly, we'll go to this one that was actually released yesterday at the time of recording. Drumming on the Earth. It's a cosmic horror one, kind of fitting that is a cosmic horror following the first one on the list, the space station one. And there were some funny moments about how it's basically this big ass cloud. The cloud the size of North America is kind of killing a bunch of people with like actual giant body parts coming from the cloud. Gave me some like that old War of the Worlds vibe, not the Ice Cube one, the Tom Cruise one. And it was written by a fan too, fan submission on their new subreddit, where they'll have more likelihood, I guess, of the fan submissions being on the show or just being shared with a lot less restrictions than No Sleep has. But the story overall, I don't know, Since I'm putting everything in B, I think maybe I'll put it in A, just because I like the kind of big, like I have I think it's called both colossophobia or gigantophobia, like the fear of big stuff. Like, I don't know, the thought of a giant cloud just over the entire continent that's like clearly having something alive in it. It's like reaching down with hands and teeth to just take people and consume it for really no understandable reason. Just, this is, I don't know, a rapture. I think there's a line in there I really like a rapture without horns. Just going back to Revelation in the Bible. I don't know, just a biblical like threat, but also just seems like it could completely be just the earth in its own, I don't know, revenge against humans. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you want to see Creepcast older episodes than this, because this is only, I guess, kind of half of what exists now. And definitely check these out for yourself. I know that I probably said a lot of just kind of vague opinions, but that's just my commentary on most of these. I kind of stand by what I said. It was a very, what's the word? Consistently average, I think, are the words I used. Consistently average is what I would give for 2025 for Creepcast. Now 2025 for life, I'd give it a, I don't know, F minus, just continuously. I mean, not to go on a whole other rant, but things are really bad for a lot of people, and I really hope that 2026 people just kind of learn to be a bit more compassionate, I guess. I think, especially online and right now with everything causing some kind of discourse, I don't really know. I think even just saying like you want people to treat others with respect, I think that's even a controversial take of its own, but I digress. We're getting off topic. This is just the silly Creepcast ranking video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little project here. This video is gonna be long as hell, but that's what we're here for, just long form content while you're eating food or doing your chores, all the necessities of life. And Happy New Year from Dominic, born to shit. And